Live from inside Porsche, Colorado Springs, it's the First Dibs podcast with our hosts, John Deisty and Justin Underwood. Buckle up and let's go for a ride.
So, as always, we need a producer because that's not the song I wanted. But hey, it was great. Welcome back, everybody, to the Amateur Hour here at Porsche, Colorado Springs. It's the First Dibs podcast.
That's right.
I'm John, and I'm tangled up in wires. It's not getting any better. Those of you that aren't watching are really losing out. This is Justin.
Hey,
and then
everybody.
we've got Pete and Brendan.
Yes.
Back.
Hey, everyone.
Hey. Welcome back, Brendan.
Thank you.
And welcome to the show, Pete.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Super looking forward to this show because a lot of people are wondering, what do Brendan and Pete have in common to get on the First Dibs podcast?
Yeah.
So,
He's a referral.
And he happens to be my son.
There it is.
There it is.
That's true. Yeah, so
like pulling teeth.
I know. We didn't really prepare for this. My iPad's not charged enough. You know,
It's charged enough.
yeah, right.
it might be, but yeah. What was it? 3 weeks ago,
Essentially.
something like that.
Yeah.
Brendan suggested that his dad buy a car, and told him to call me.
Well, essentially it was Easter weekend.
Yeah.
He and his wife were down. We visited. He said, Dad, I got these really cool. He knows I've been looking at these cars for a long time, like a really long time. He said, hey, Dad, here's some really cool cars. Here's one at Colorado Springs Porsche. It's only like $270,000. I'm like, yeah, I don't like the color of that one. But at any rate, we're talking cars, and finally said, go down there, meet John, meet Justin, drive a couple of them, figure out what you actually want.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually I did that, and yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah.
That's
fun.
awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool.
It's that one.
It's that
Yeah,
one.
right.
It's that one.
It's that beautiful white thing out there. Oh, my Lord.
The audience can't see it.
I know. We gotta up our budget for another camera.
Yeah,
We should probably do that. We'll post a picture later, maybe.
Right.
okay. That's cool. But yeah.
So anyway, thank you guys for coming down. We have business to attend to a little bit, I think.
It depends on how far you want to go. We have a lot.
Do we?
Yeah.
All right, start. So first we talk about new cars that came in.
No, I've watched the podcast several times, so I'm
yes. That's our third listener. Yeah, that's great. All right.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess it for me, and the why I say we have a lot is when I got here Monday. So I showed up late Monday because I went to go visit our buddy Salil and his co-driver Tom at the One Lap of America. They were at High Plains Raceway Monday. And those guys are doing great. I keep getting updates from Salil, and but anyway, that took me away from here in the morning time. So I showed up here around 11 or so. The power was out.
Yep. Forgot about that.
But there was another beautiful ply car transport truck. We should get sponsored by them. Anyway, there was a beautiful ply car transport truck that was here in the center lane where they do their loading and unloading. And and to my surprise, there was a Targa 4 GTS manual transmission sitting out here.
2024.
2024.
Blacky black.
Yep, sitting out here in the parking lot. And Ross says, oh, hey, all your toys showed up today. Said, okay. And I mean, because I wasn't here in the morning, I wasn't putting things together. And lo and behold, I walk out onto our patio here, and we've got a GT2 RS, Speedster, a GT4 RS, a GT4, a Dakar, all along to go with that Targa 4 GTS. So
Not a bad
it was
day.
a full truck. It was a full 6-car ply car, dropped everything.
How
off
many
for us.
months do you think a normal dealership has to go through before they take that? They get that load of cars.
Oh, most owners would fire like every sales manager. You did what?
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of funny because Joe was joking around. He said, "Oh, he's like, that's reloading. I mean, that's an entire clip.
Yeah.
Like you emptied out one clip and you just reloaded everything all at once.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful, right? They're
Yeah.
beautiful cars. If you want to run down the list, what do you know off the top of your head?
Carmine Red 2019 Speedster. The GT2 RS is black with the red Alcantara.
Yeah.
That's super pretty. That has like under 700 miles on it,
I think so.
something like that. Yeah. I think the showstopper of the set for me was actually the GT4 RS in black with the white gold wheels,
Magnesium
gold
wheels.
magnesium wheels, and red accent logo package.
Yeah, I've never
and
seen
like, and I was trying to estimate about where I thought the MSRP of that car would be. I was guessing it would be like 190, and I think it's like a 220 build. Like there's an extra $30,000 in stuff on that car that
Right.
I didn't catch, which that's tough. I'm usually much more accurate than that. So that thing was super cool. The Gentian Blue 5,500 mile 2021 GT4, full leather, comfy seats, manual. That thing was pretty sweet.
Right.
And then Rough Roads Dakar with 28 miles on it.
Right.
Comfy seats in that one too.
Yeah, right.
Which I think is the way I would want that car. I think part of the fun of that is it's an easier entry exit. It's high up, and I wouldn't want the race car seats in my street car. So
Right. Yeah. And then the black Targa 4 GTS with a couple hundred
manual
miles on it,
too.
manual
Yeah.
transmission. And then just yesterday we acquired Spider.
2022 paint to sample Dolphin Gray. PDK.
Yeah, that's a beautiful car. And then at the same time is a GT Silver over Carrera red leather, like natural red leather interior.
It has a leather radio.
Yeah,
It has leather everything.
2011 Turbo S. Coupe.
That car
That
is that's silly.
It's pretty sweet.
That one's pretty silly. And it's
came
Aero
out-
Kit.
Aero Kit. That's
Aero
right.
Kit. And Brendan was talking about the seats. Like those seats are nicer than new car seats.
They are.
There are some new cars that come
Yeah.
in that the seats aren't as clean as that car.
Right.
Oh, they are
yeah.
still
Yeah.
in immaculate shape.
Right. Well, the car was originally part of a collection, and then it just kind of changed hands as far as like I think broker type deals afterwards. But anyway, one of our local longtime guys wound up with the car. Essentially from the collection, really. And what's pretty awesome though, so this car it now has 37,000 miles on it. The local guy, he's a firm believer. If you're not driving it, if you're not using it and driving it, you shouldn't have it. And because I mean, even to me, I thought, why are you getting rid of this car? I mean, you love driving this car, but he's not driving it, at this point. So it's just got to figure out what the next one's going to be. And then I said, how about a Targa 4 GTS with a manual transmission? He said, so soon?
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, I really like that about it as far as if you're not using it, just do something else. But I mean, how lucky are we?
Yeah, that car's amazing.
No kidding.
That's a lot of business, man.
That's a lot of stuff.
We just kind of like skated it too.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. I'm trying to think through all of those cars.
Two of 4 listeners are sitting here.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
So the other 2 people.
It's true.
I mean, I'm pleased to announce I fit in the GT4 RS. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, the bucket seats.
The bucket seats were surprisingly accommodating.
They fit great in those cars. Yeah. Okay. So one other thing I think I should talk about. I got to drive a Spider RS.
Oh, there you go.
And, if I had $250,000 to drop into a car, that's probably pretty close to the top of my list.
Wow.
It was just delightful. It's different. The sound is different. The suspension is very compliant for road use. I figured out the top. That was pretty sweet. But yeah, that car, that was a thing. So
Now, is that a full manual top or?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
That's the figuring
yeah.
out
You
part.
have to roll it up. I could do it by myself at this point, but it's like pull a button, take some things off, roll the top forward, take the back out, put the back in the trunk, take the rest off, roll it up, pull a lever, pull this lever, hope you don't drop it on your really expensive leather dash, and then wedge it in the trunk and make sure that it's tucked all right so the top closes and doesn't bend the super expensive aluminum deck lid.
That was a journey.
Sounds like an old Volkswagen Mini microbus.
It's probably
there
not
you
too
go.
far.
Yeah.
Did it have those things that are like you pull them out and it releases the snap?
Oh, quick
And you have,
fasteners.
yeah, exactly. Like quick fabric fastener
Well,
things.
I was 6 years old when we had ours in 1961, so I don't actually remember.
Okay.
But I do remember them rolling.
Oh
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
They could have been the twist lock fasteners.
Yeah.
Oh,
those, yeah.
that would have been a cool. That would have been a cool touch.
Because when did Velcro come out?
Well, it was a NASA invention, so probably the 70s.
Okay.
Probably the 70s.
Now that's who knew that was going to be a hellacious segue?
Yeah, exactly. We're so pro. We're so pro.
You guys are killing it.
Yeah,
It's what we do.
Yeah. No, Pete, that's fantastic because I mean, the people they know a little bit about us, they want to get to know a little bit more about you.
Now, let's talk about your journey
Yeah.
from BMW 320
Yeah.
to Brendan to to 911.
Okay.
And let's not get too specific about how Brendan got here.
So, well, how much time do we have?
Yikes.
We have
about
48 minutes left.
Okay. Okay. So, I will
Thanks
tell
for
you
that.
my
By the way,
yeah.
If you want us to turn your headset down, we can.
The fruit of my loins is sitting right next to me here.
what in the
Okay.
actual?
Anyway, so I got to say my first interest in Porsche, and I had told you, John, I thought it was like 1980. So the 930 flared fenders, the whale tail with the oil radiator in the whale tail, all that was kind of when I said, "Wow, this is so cool." But I was thinking back, and actually, I was probably about 10 years old. So this would have been like 1965. Yes, I was born in 1955. And I remember seeing this 914, and I thought, that thing looks like it could hug a curve like your grandma's hugging you. I mean, it's just not going to release from the road. So the first Porsche I ever saw and said, I mean, lust is a kind of an interesting word, but the first Porsche I ever said, I'd got to get me some of that was a 914, and I was probably 10 years old, maybe 12. So this is like the mid-60s.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, Diane and I get married in 1980, and then this guy comes along in 86. So, of course, in 1980, the happening Porsche was the 930, flared fenders, whale tail. So I got to get me some of that, too. Sort of, I got a child, got house payments, got cars that are broken all the time. Because when you're, entry-level employee, your stuff is not the finest available on the planet Earth. So, so at any rate, Brendan's born 86.
Where were you guys at that point?
Southern California, east of Los Angeles, and I was working closer in town to Los Angeles, so that was a miserable hour-and-a-half commute each direction, each day, both ways. It was horrible. But
Uphill in the snow.
we got
shoes.
we got there. We got
LA.
there. It's fine.
LA.
We did our 9 years in purgatory. But the thing I noticed about Brendan was, sorry about long story short, too late. But the thing I noticed about Brendan was, so I'm a football fan, and given it 60 minutes of football and 2 more hours of commercials, and in football, it's either cars or it's beer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so, with a child, it's walk at one, talk at two. If you've ever had a child, that's kind of the mantra, right? So certainly Brendan started walking at one. So I was like, okay, we got that one. We got to check that box. So he wasn't even 2 years old. And he's like writing letters down on a piece of paper because he learned that from Sesame Street. But the other thing he learned was cars. So we're driving through a parking lot at, back then, I think it was Home Base when they were still in business, whatever it was called, some home club, I don't know, something.
What kind of store is this?
This is a home improvement store.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like Home Depot before the
It's
Depot.
Home Depot before
but-
the It's like
Okay.
the Hugh M. Woods of
Yeah.
Do you know that one?
No.
which is also gone now. So at any rate, we're driving down through the
If
parking
you
lot.
had Menards, I would have been good with Menards.
Yeah.
Isn't that like
So-
a Christian bookstore?
So we're trying
No?
to find a place
Okay.
to park, and I'm drifting down through the lanes of parked cars, and here's Brendan next to me going, now this is like a 1.5-year-old kid. And he's not just saying Ford and Chevy. And I've told John this.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying he's pointing to the car with the badge on it, said Isuzu, Mitsubishi. And this goes on and on. I'm like, holy mother of
Joe
Jesus.
Isuzu was a memorable dude.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, totally cool. So at any rate, that's when I kind of figured out Brendan got this car thing going on. I'm not sure where it's going. He's 1.5 years old. It's kind of, early in the process. Sure. And then we, as a kid, we'd play cars and garage and all that stuff. But funny that, when I was working on my 320i and swapping out the clutch, because at 106,000 miles, I had a groove in it. So I took the bell housing off. I disconnected the drivetrain. It was up on a stand. And I said, hey, Brendan, you want to see this? I'm like, nah. What? Nah, I don't know. I want to go do something else, video games.
Play in the
I don't
mud.
know. What, yeah, I want to go
Yep.
digging. I want to go dig in the mud. So at any rate, at that point, I thought, well, maybe he's not a car guy. But then fast forward a few years after that, and we got him a car for his 18th birthday, used. What was that?
Canadian spec 1990 Toyota
Camry, yeah, an
Oh,
old Camry,
yeah.
an old Camry.
What does Canadian spec mean in a Camry?
Yeah.
It had a maple leaf.
Hey, that's
Right.
important. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It meant it didn't come up when I took it to AutoZone and gave them the trim level. The trim didn't exist here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know how important that was back then.
Yeah.
And they asked for the trim, like, oh, I need to get it to you.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So anyway, that was his first car, and then his second car was when he was actually in college, and that turned out to be an Audi. What was that? An A5,
A4,
A4.
1.8T.
1AT,
Yeah.
A4 Ultra Sport, B6.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was used. We got it just down the road, down the street here. But at any rate, that's kind of when I felt like he was coming back into the car groove, and then it's pretty much been don't look back after that. So
Did you play the PlayStation video games?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. okay.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember if we've talked about that on the show before, but I think that was part of my another kick in cars was Gran Turismo's.
Yeah, I think I got Gran Turismo 3 in 2002.
That sounds
Had to
about
be
right.
2002.
Yep, that sounds about right.
I saved up all summer for a PS2 and got a PS2 and got Gran Turismo 3 as my first game.
Yep.
but I have to interject here. One of the games we had the most fun with was a game
He's
called
going to talk about Road Rash.
Sega Road Rash.
Motorcycle game. Pick up the baseball bat. Throw the chains. Yeah.
Oh my Lord,
That
that,
was
game
good.
was so
Yeah.
fun. You'd bump your guy into the car that's oncoming. He's like, sorry about that.
Yeah.
People trying to come into the
Yeah.
showroom.
Oh, that's good. Should we invite him?
Yeah.
All right.
No.
Yeah.
They have big mustaches.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, lots of fun.
Where'd we leave off? Oh, we were switching a clutch.
Yeah,
And then
yeah. So anyway, I'm swapping out the clutch. It's 106,000 miles. I'm feeling the clutch is really not connecting any. It's a 5-speed manual in the 320i. So I thought, well, I'll give this a shot. And so, yeah, disconnected the drivetrain, had the car up on jacks, used a floor jack to lift the front of the engine up so the bell housing was down, took all the bolts out, pulled the back of it out, and sure enough, I had a big groove in the flywheel. So I was like, okay, fine. So took the flywheel down to what then was called Enos Rink, which is a machine shop here in town. They machined it, balanced it, did all that stuff. So I did the pilot bearing, the throwout bearing, the clutch plate, all that stuff. But while I'm doing this, I'm trying to get Brendan under the car because, like, hey, here's elbow deep in the car, right? I mean, I got the whole bell housing off the back of this thing.
I still don't want to be elbow deep in a car.
Except you have been since the DeLorean.
That doesn't mean it's.
It wasn't. It wasn't a desire.
No, that doesn't mean it's fun.
Yeah, no, we want the end product. We're just not good enough to get there.
So when
like Justin, you moved to sales because working on cars is so fun, right?
Oh, it's super fun. Yeah. So at any rate, at that point, I thought, I don't know if Brendan's still into cars or not. But eventually, I noticed that he's most certainly into cars, and he hasn't looked back. So pretty fun. Just watching the whole journey. It's pretty fun. Yeah.
What was the name of the shop that resurfaced the flywheel?
Enos Rink, if I remember correctly. They may not. They may no longer be in business.
Okay.
And this was
with a name like that, how would you go out of business? I mean, come on.
I still want to know how Hugh M. Woods went out of business. That's a great name for a wood shop.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh my goodness.
Lots of fun. But yeah, that's the last time I was that deep in a car, was doing that clutch. In fact, I couldn't, the engine had a squeal in it. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. I thought maybe somehow I had a problem with the pilot bearing in the center of the clutch plate, the flywheel. So I took it out a second time. That was really special because, if it's worth doing once, it's really fun doing it a second time.
Yeah.
And put another, pilot bearing in it, put it all back together. Interestingly enough, the first time I did it, when I tilted the engine back, apparently I bumped a distributor. For those of you who are old enough to know what a distributor is on this podcast, and it screwed up the timing, right? So I had a friend come over and said, I can't figure out, all I did was swap out the clutch plate, puts a couple new bearings in it, bolt it all back together, and now the engine won't start. I'm like, what the heck? And he's like, okay, let me take your distributor cap and rotate a little bit. He rotates it one way. He's like, yeah, that's not it. He rotates the other way. Boom. I'm like, oh, I love you, man. So, I learned a few things by being elbow deep in my car. It was, and I was scared of it. It's a BMW. How can I possibly work on a BMW? And it's sort of like, this is a very conventional design. Once you figure that out, you're not afraid of it anymore. Not like this white thing I have out here. It's like, I'm told I'm not supposed to touch anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend say, how do you change the oil in that? I said, you drive down to the dealer, you hand them your keys.
Yep.
They hand your car back to you and your keys. You give them a piece of plastic, and your oil's changed. It's fabulous.
Yeah,
That's
it does
true.
work. Yeah, it does work.
Yep. That's another thing. Like, I don't think you can do it cheaper.
At home?
Yeah. Like, even doing an oil change on my Subaru, I don't think I can do it cheaper myself than bringing it to a dealership and just paying somebody to do it.
Sure.
I think it depends.
If you can do it quickly, maybe. But if you can spend half a day doing it, it's time is money.
It's 5 hours.
Right.
You got to go get the parts. You got to go do the stuff. You got to.
Then you got to dispose of the oil.
Yeah. I've done it.
I see you've done this.
I have.
Same here. Yeah.
I don't need to do it anymore.
I mean, I'll say the oil change on the R8's way cheaper when you do it yourself.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I bet.
You just add extra? Is that how you do that?
No. It's dry sump. You gotta undo 3 drain plugs.
All right.
Oh, Lord.
So that's okay. So on the R8, I don't know the layout, the configuration of the car. So is that a car where you are in risk that if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to drain out the transmission fluid and then overfill the engine oil? You know what I mean?
You definitely need to pay attention to which tank you're putting which in. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, where my son has a WRX and he doesn't stop driving it. So he's had it for a little over 3 months. It's got 10,000 miles on it. And
that's fantastic.
So he wanted to change oil, but then it was, well, yeah, I want, me and a friend are going to do it.
Rut-row.
Yeah. Like, these are, well, one's not even 16, I don't think, but my son is 16 and his friend is 15 or 14 or something like that. And I thought, no.
What if you don't?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm there with you or whatever to walk through that, okay. we could if you're going to change the oil in your own car, let me be part of that first one.
Yeah. Step one, your car has an oil temperature gauge. You want it to be reading 250
Yes, scalding is better.
before you pull the drain plug.
Yeah.
It helps it drain.
Yeah. So wisely, they decided, well, okay, we'll take it to the dealer to have the first oil change done. And then for me to find out they didn't even go to the dealership. They went to, whatever, some third party thing.
Someplace, yeah.
Haven't some marks started actually requiring that you get the basic maintenance done to keep your warranty up at the dealership as well?
Yeah.
I think my Kia works that way.
Yeah, you could. Yet there's certainly a lot of drivetrain things that they could void if you don't have service history at a dealership.
Certainly through the warranty period.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that you're, if you don't service your car at the dealership, for everybody out there, if you don't service your car at the dealership, your warranty's voided. But if something were to happen and it is questionable, if you don't have proof, history of the dealership performing services, whatever it is, yeah, the manufacturer certainly would have the ability to say, we're not covering that.
Right. They can use that as a lever if they need to.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Do satellites have warranties?
Yes.
So let's go in the Wayback Machine here.
Satellites have warranties.
That's what
and they're expensive.
So so tell us, how do you know about satellites?
So, I worked in the satellite business from, July 7th of 1980 until June 2nd of 2023. So about 43 years.
When did they launch Sputnik?
I think that was 1957 or 59. I think it's 59, actually.
Okay. So
kind of freaked the United States out because we weren't really ready to launch anything.
For sure. So by 1980, the satellite business is well up.
Well underway. Yeah, well underway. Yeah. So when I started out in my job, I was working on a drawing board, basically laying out. At the time, they couldn't even tell me what I was laying out until I got all my clearances. But essentially, laying out the computer floors for these ground stations. And it was
is that like where a keyboard goes, or what's a computer floor?
So in large computer floors, you have a raised floor. It's raised about 30 inches. And that's because all the cabling that interconnects all these boxes on the floor has to go somewhere.
Okay.
So the computer floor is raised. That's where all the airflow is. And then you cut holes in the floor and bring the cables up, and that's also where airflow is moving up into the large boxes. So that was my first job, was laying out these ground stations. And I traveled, internationally to do that. It was kind of fun because I'm like 24 years old, like, whoa, I'm getting on a flight that's going to take me 20-some hours. Like this,
right.
And
this
where
is
did you go for 6 months or so?
This is kind of cool, except that, it's a 21-hour flight. And about 10 hours into, you're like, oh, this sucks. So at any rate, that was my first job. It went for about 7 years, and we basically retrofitted these existing ground stations to bring in new computer equipment, take out the old stuff, yank out all the cables.
You're not going to talk about Woomera?
Since I was a tiny little guy...
That's the second denial.
Since I was a tiny little guy,
I'm going to ask again.
I got to be the guy that drug the 100-foot cables underneath the floor.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it was really fabulous. Yeah. But yeah, so I spent quite a bit of time in the outback, and that actually was very cool.
The actual outback of Australia.
Yes, the actual outback of Australia. So, which won't be mentioned further in this.
Okay.
Anyway,
we have an after dark episode. We might have to do.
Yeah, we might have to go.
Yeah,
we might have to go to the after
we'll
midnight.
Turn off
thing.
the.
Can we get you a drink? Are you good?
I could probably go for a second.
All right.
But anyway, so
Okay.
let's see, where were we going with all of that?
We were talking about satellites.
Yeah. So what happened was in '87, we had kind of run out of ground station work to do, and my boss said, "Hey, Pete, you might want to go talk to the guys downstairs. They're launching all the new spacecraft, and there's all kinds of those coming up, and I'm kind of running out of work for two of us managing this program." I said, "Okay, that's fine." So I go downstairs and I talked to the guy and I said, "Yeah, we could really use your help." I was like, "Cool." So in '87, I kind of moved from the ground-based brick and mortar stuff to the orbital stuff, which is I had been enamored with space since like Mercury was launching, right? Because I'm old enough to actually know what a Mercury launch is, and a Redstone rocket and all that kind of stuff. So I start working not the ground side, but the orbital side, and what that means is, if we were launching a new satellite, I was part of the team that was going to write the command plans that would turn everything on board, and this happened over a number of days, like 30 days. We'd turn on a subsystem, we'd check it out, we'd make sure everything was working right, and we had star sensors, thermal control, electrical, all kinds of different things that we had to check out before we said, okay, this payload is ready to, and the spacecraft, which was the other part of our team, a different company, that this space vehicle is ready to hand over to the government to use for early warning.
So you're starting it up on the ground before it's blasted off into space?
No, actually, this is all on orbit.
Okay.
You're turning everything on.
So you send it
orbit.
up and then you press buttons.
So we launch it. It goes into a low Earth parking orbit. Then we have a 7-hour or so coast to get out to geosynchronous. So that's 22,300 miles up. That's a long way away.
It's a lot of miles.
Yeah.
It's a couple of miles. It's more than I have on my new white 911.
Yep. It's a few days.
A couple of days, yeah. And so what we would do is we'd get to our orbital altitude, which is great. But if we didn't do anything else, we'd just come back into Earth because of the way gravity works. So once we got to 22,300 miles, we'd have to fire again to circularize the orbit over the United States. Once we got the orbit circularized, then it would be the notion of, okay, now that we're in a circular orbit, we got to figure out where the Earth is. And one of the ways you figure out where the Earth is where the sun is. It's really cool. It's fascinating. I mean, I worked with a lot of physicists. I myself am not a physicist, but I was a payload guy, a sensor guy, IR sensor guy. But at any rate, I became fascinated with the process. And yeah, my first launch was 89. 89 would have been a lot sooner, except Challenger had just blown up. And so it grounded like every launch on the surface of the Earth for years, several years, until they figured that out. But yeah, we launched in the summer of 89. And that was my first actual, no kidding, I'm on a launch team. We're turning all these subsystems on. We're checking them out. We're making sure they work. Oh, this one had an issue. Okay, let's go fix that issue. Really a fun, fascinating career. And I basically did that till I retired. It's really cool. Really cool job.
Which does tie into the car.
It does. And I told you I would explain that to you, but I wasn't gonna steal any thunder early.
You tried.
I did.
You did try.
I almost went there, but you guys,
we shut that down.
You guys pumped the brakes on me, so it's cool. So, so one of the things you deal with in space is that there's no atmosphere. So like here, we're blessed with having this atmosphere. Even when it's a really hot day, at least we have an atmosphere that we're not like getting all that solar. We're getting quite a bit at, 7,000 feet, but in space, there's no atmosphere. So we use both things like second surface mirrors, which are pieces of glass with a mirror on the back side, for solar rejection. Because when you're in the direct sun, part of the spacecraft is getting directly heated by the sun. The other part's in the shade. So part of the spacecraft's at like plus 100 degrees centigrade. The other side that's in the shade is like negative 75 centigrade. So you got to deal with all that stuff. Space environment's really nasty. And then you got solar winds, high velocity charged solar, high electron streams from the sun, so solar wind. All that kind of crap you're dealing with on space. So at any rate, the other thing we use to deal with solar rejection is white. So things that we don't want to put mirrors on, but we still want to reject solar, we use a lot of white for. So yeah, I thought about this car that I just got. I thought, well, late spring, because it's Colorado, late spring actually means early spring actually means late winter in Colorado.
Right.
But I thought, okay, so, late spring, summer, and fall, the times I'm likely to use this car the most are where I'm going to want the most solar rejection. So I said, yeah, white's got to be the color. So that's how I ended up with a white 911.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that there's science behind the
There's a
reasoning for
reason.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't just say, yeah, I want it to look like I'm a bridesmaid or something. Or, I mean, the halo thing is cool, but
Right.
I think if I ever start a grunge band, I'm going to call myself Solar Rejection.
I like that.
that's actually a cool name.
Yeah.
I had never thought of that.
All right. Tied up 1-to-1.
Yeah, so my relatives know about this car, and one of them is a Porsche owner back in Nashville, and they have nicknamed the car White Lightning. But I don't think I would recommend that as a band name.
White Lightning. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh my
in today's climate, that's probably not an acceptable band name. But yeah, Solar Rejection actually would work great.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
That's another segue. You just mentioned that you're a musician.
Yes, I am. I'm a drummer and singer.
You're swinging hammers,
Yeah,
dragging your knuckles on the ground.
So I really do like intellectual pursuits. And if you're a musician, I think you also understand that musicians tend to be mathematicians, because you can't really be a musician and not be a mathematician, especially if you're a drummer.
Sure.
Now, it's cool that I can count to 4. That's awesome. After college, that wasn't a guarantee. But every now and then I count to 5 or 7, which is kind of really tricky, especially given my college background.
Yeah. Right. I've always been impressed by the people that can count to 3 with their right hand and 4 with their left hand. I don't understand that.
Well,
that's
an acquired talent.
Yeah, it is.
That's an acquired
Can
talent.
you do that? No.
Yeah.
Me neither.
But yeah, I've been playing drums actually since I was a toddler, and back then it amounted to some kind of a clothes basket turned upside down and a couple of sticks. I don't know. But yeah, I started playing drums as a teenager, and then got a really good set of drums as a sophomore in high school, 72, and I still play that same set today.
That's awesome.
And so I've had a blast playing drum.
We have a good friend client that they own Drum City Guitarland. Have you ever heard of that place?
Oh, I bought stuff from them. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, really cool.
Place has been around a long time. Since
Been around a
the
long time.
60s, I think. Their dad started that business, and actually their father's drum set. It's like a gold set. I don't remember the manufacturer, but it's this amazing drum set, and they have it upstairs in this. I don't want to call it a museum, but it's a room.
It's a show place.
Yeah. But they only take. I mean, not anyone can go up there.
Well, maybe I could get a recommendation from you guys.
Right.
I could
Go check it out.
check it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those guys are a lot of fun.
You do need to make a field trip up there.
Yeah, for sure. No, those guys are a ton of fun.
Yeah, no doubt.
I bought a drum kit from them.
Cool.
It's a Pearl. Like, I don't, anyway, they were willing to put it in my car. It all fit. And then,
That's a blessing. Yeah.
And then the last thing I got from them was actually a ukulele.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I always wanted one. Now I have 3.
You can play them all at the same time. It's pretty amazing.
It's about as useful as having more than one car. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, give me some credit there.
Good job, John.
Thank you.
So as a kid, second grader, my parents wanted me to take piano, so I took it, and I felt like I was just chained to the piano stool. So I hate this, right? But I get a set of drums, and there's no peace in the house for until I go away to college.
Right.
So I mean, I kind of found my thing, but as I look back, I'm like, man, I really kind of wish I'd learned like keyboards or guitar, something where I'm forced to learn scales, and I understand. I hear notes, and I understand what a good chord is. And I told my director at church the other day, I'm like, hey, we're doing this song in 2 different keys. I'm a drummer.
Right.
But I know what a note sounds like, and I know what a chord sounds like, and I know when 2 chords, they're not the right chord.
Yeah, right.
So
I mean, come on, let's get some professionalism here.
Yeah,
So I do kind of regret not really learning an instrument where you're forced to learn keys. Yeah, thank you. Good job, Brendan. And now that I'm retired, I mean, I think I maybe could do that. Learn some other foreign languages, learn keyboards, guitar, whatever. I'd actually like to play bass. Primary reason, when I play a gig, I got to sit there for 4 hours on a stool.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'd like to be able to get up and walk around. Well, if I'm a bass player, you get to walk around.
Yeah.
Now you got to drag something around hanging from your shoulder.
You could also just start playing the quad drums. and just strap up those.
And just walk around like I'm a marching band.
Yeah.
That'd be really hip.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I hear drumming's
yeah.
the most dangerous part of the band. I've seen this as Spinal Tap. Care to comment?
What's that?
I hear drumming's the most dangerous part of the band. I've seen this as Spinal Tap. Do you care to comment?
Well, yeah. So the reason is it's actually for the rest of the band. It's not for the drummer.
Okay.
The reason is the drummer starts the fight, and the rest of the band has to finish it.
Okay.
After the drummer runs out of the room.
Right.
Because he's the tiniest little guy in the band.
Right.
He's got the biggest car, though.
Has the coolest car.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say coolest, but he's got the biggest car. In this case, he's got a pretty cool car.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, although
Yeah.
I'm not seeing my drum kit fitting in that car.
No.
I mean, I might be able to get 2 drums in under the boot.
That's why I got to take up marching band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
pretty much. But yeah, so yeah, drummer, and I've been playing drums for, I don't know, 60 years now or so. 50 anyway.
Yeah.
So, what sparked the itch for a sports car?
Well, again, it was something that I lusted after when I could barely afford to put gas in a Volkswagen. And the reason I tell you that is that more than one Friday night, my wife and I would count out pennies to see if we could get $2 to put in the Volkswagen Beetle that we had. So it wasn't like we were poor, but we're just entry-level employees. So, we just didn't basically had nothing, no 2 coins to rub together. So, so at the time I was lusting after cars that I could never afford, and Southern California, probably a house that I could never afford. I had to kind of put that off to the side. But, Brendan and I've talked about 911s forever. And so Easter, like I said, he came home and said, "Hey, Dad, here's some cars." I'm like, oof. Yeah, I don't know.
Was that just you forcing cars on him like I do to my dad? Or was that.
Yeah, he was foisting cars on me.
All right.
And I told him, hey, I've got these friends at Porsche Colorado Springs. I know
Yeah.
John and Justin. So he called James.
Well, no,
This is true.
I mean,
Why don't you give John a call? Here's his cell phone number. Sure, I'm going to find a way to call James.
so
How did you even do that?
that's what I'm trying to explain. So I can't remember. I went on to Colorado Springs Porsche, and
I'm just impressed. I'm not mad. Keep going. You're doing great.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So what?
So you're on PorscheColoradoSprings.com.
Porsche
It's
Colorado-
one of the greatest Porsche websites.
Yeah, it's one
It's a
of the,
destination
It
dealership.
is. Yes.
it's
Yeah.
one of the fabulous Porsche websites, and I go on there and I'm seeing a couple cars, so I indicate I have an interest, thinking I'm going to hear from John. Well, the next thing I hear from is this guy named James.
James.
Like, is that can't be John, because he said his name was John, but this guy's name
You can
is
tell by how
James.
the letters are different.
And then then the last name was like, well, that doesn't look at all like John's last name. So then I finally had to text James. I said, "Hey, listen, James, I'm sorry. My son says I'm supposed to talk to John. I don't know how this all came. I apologize. No offense." And things like, "Fine, it's fine. Don't worry, it's fine." I said, "Okay, cool."
We should have sent him to Nancy.
It had, yes, that would have been
Here's
much better.
John's number. Ask for Nancy.
Yep.
Yeah, her name is McGill, but everyone knew her as Nancy. Yes. So anyway, that's kind of how I got connected with James. In fact, James says, I told James, I said, I can't swing by because I'm going to be down at the Subaru dealership. I'm dropping off my car for some service. He said, well, I'm going to be there too. Maybe I'll see you. I said, okay, yeah, maybe I'll see you. Then the next thing I know, it's like, oh, I was supposed to talk to John, not James. Like, oh, geez.
Wait, you're gonna meet up with one of our Porsche salespeople at
Yeah,
the
at
Subaru?
Yeah. They both had service.
Over a
Yeah.
latte. I mean, it's going to be fabulous.
Yeah.
They're free. It's a great dealership.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
nice.
free
That's like-
cappuccinos.
they serve Starbucks coffee.
What?
Yeah, it's straight up. They have a lounge. They have a barista.
They do.
You can
also
get a Black Forest down there. It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah,
Or they have Bailey's.
They also do like 800 cars a month down there.
And doesn't that sound exhausting?
That does.
Well, so the thing that struck me, just a complete aside, but it's kind of tied into what you're saying. The thing that struck me when I was down there in the service area was the number of cars that were lined up to get worked on. I thought, that's kind of interesting. That's like a huge number of people that have to get their cars worked on here. I wonder what that's all about. Now, my car was down there because it kept draining the battery dead. And
We've got big feelings on this one.
Yeah, these are some hurt feelings. On
This is
one.
for after hours. You can save that one.
No. I'm not going to elaborate, but basically, I was on battery number 2. I had to keep the car on a charger 24 hours a day, and because if I didn't drive it for like 5 days, because some days I wouldn't need to drive it for 5 days, then the car wouldn't start. I got stranded at the airport in it. I got stranded a couple other places in it. And that's when I realized, okay, there's a design problem in this car that they really haven't, told us about. And anyway, so that's why I was down there for the car to say, hey, you guys need to make this right. Because, I, among thousands of other people, have cars that they die. Mm-hmm. So, help us understand what's going on with these cars. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's how I was going to meet James, and then I had to call James and renege on our date. It was really embarrassing.
Yep,
I felt terrible.
So I didn't tell James. I just went to pick him up in a Cayenne GTS. So,
Oh my gosh.
I said, yeah, I'm standing out front. I got little dark glasses and an Iron Man hat on. I'll see you at the curb.
Yep.
So what was the process like? How did you get kind of some orientation of the Porsche model lineup? Because I told you some things and you didn't buy any of them. You could have had a GT3 RS.
Well, and so yes, I could have. In fact, my nephew was down in Houston, was inkling that he might be willing to part with his because he was shopping for a McLaren. Okay. I asked him about it. I said, so I'm hearing the GT3 RS is kind of more like if you're going to be on the track. I said, what's your suspension like in this car? He says, it's very stiff, very, very stiff. I said, yeah. So thinking about this car and, my family, which now predominantly is just me and my wife because the kids are all grown, I said, I kind of need something that's got a little more of the comfort factor in it that, so John and I took the red car out, which was a totally aspirated, non-turboed 911.
Yeah, it was a 2015 rear-wheel drive GTS.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yep. So
we do the route up 24 to the Pikes Peak turnoff and come flying back into town. And this thing's like babbling blah, 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 all the way back into town. Like,
right. Yeah.
Did you do that again?
well, we can replay that.
Yeah, we can.
That's on tape.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this thing's babbling all the way back into town. Every time I deaccelerate, and I thought, I don't know if Miss is going to go for this. So then we drove. I think the white one was second.
Yep.
The Turbo S.
Yep. 2018 Turbo S.
Oh yeah.
And with the Bordeaux interior.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
The exclusive
that car was-
manufacturer goodies.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was probably spec'd out by Porsche North America. It
That was a good one.
It was a manufacturer exclusive. Had rear wheel steering, front axle lift. I mean, the spec sheet on this thing almost took like 2 pages. It was huge, and it was really fun. And that one I thought, yeah, I think the missus would go for this. And then we took the Shark Blue, which is sitting out there next to mine, and that was also quite fun. And that's a Carrera
S.
Yep, Carrera
Yep.
S. So rear wheel drive, and yeah, and so that's when I'm writing John and I'm saying, blue, white. I don't know. John writes me, says we're texting each other. Says,
Well, I think you talked to Brendan a lot during this process too, right? I think he said there were like 16 hours of phone calls logged.
My invoice is in the mail, by the way.
So it was the Easter visit.
Does that go to him or me?
Actually, I'm going to use Justin's invoicing company
maybe we
bring it back.
Maybe we could split it over 2 credit cards.
I guess so. Yeah.
But at any rate, so I'm texting John going, yeah, blue, white. I don't know. The white's got every trick in the book. The blue was super cool. I love the color. It's totally pops. And so John texted me back. He said, would you like me to make this more complicated? I'm like, oh, God.
That sounds like a thing you'd say.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
So he says, I just found this. It's coming over from Germany on a boat. It's a 2024. No one has their name on it yet. And you would be the first owner. I'm like, whoa. It's about the same price. I'm like, oh, and by the way, it's white. You mentioned you liked white. So I said, So my wife's out of town, right? So this is a great decision to make when your wife's out of town.
Sure.
Yeah, not great, but it's the way it worked out. She's been very cool about it. But I said, so how do I put my name on? He said, deposit. I said, I'll be right down.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's kind of how the white car happened. But I was actually, looking at the blue one that's out there, the Turbo S. All really great choices. Fun to drive. Yeah.
I think the fun part about it was, you came in and you wanted a 911. I think we were pretty sure about that. But from there, you were open to suggestion as to what it would be. And, I think being here, we have a nice opportunity to show you more than just one.
Expose a customer to a bunch of different
stuff.
Yeah,
we can help bring you up to speed on why would you want that one? Why would you want this one? What's cool about that? And
exactly.
It gives you, that way when you make your final decision, you can be more secure about it because you've tried that and you know why that one was great, but not exactly what you were looking for. So, that process to me was really fun. It's not the loop up to Pikes Peak isn't the loop I do every time because it's not right. It's not the right test drive for everybody. It can confuse stuff because if you come in and you know what you want and I just start throwing things at you and we go drive a bunch of cars, then you don't know what you want to do. So there's different ways, but I think you were open to a manual transmission.
Well, so we talked and I said, you said, what would you like? Manual, automatic. And I said, oh, manual for sure. And you're like, manual? and the look on your face was like, okay, I'm definitely missing something. What am I missing? He's like, this car can shift faster than you can think. I'm like, I get it.
And I hope it didn't come across as judgment.
No,
because
it was educational.
Yeah, because I don't care what you buy, right? I know we're going to find a cool car for you, and if manual is mandatory, that's great.
And for some people, it might be.
It is, and it's close for me. But my wife just said, if we get a sports car, I think I want it to be an automatic.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that totally changes everything about what I've been thinking, because then she's like, well, then I can drive it and do mom stuff.
And that's what I told my wife. I said, this is essentially you start the car, it's an automatic, it's in normal driving mode. You go to Safeway, you get some stuff, you check out, throw it in the front of the car because it's not the back anymore. It's the front. And you drive home. And it's no different than driving an SUV, sedan. It's automatic. It's just driving a car. It's a rather cool car, but it still drives like a car.
We do care what you buy. we just try to make sure that we have fun for you to make the selection of what you want.
And I'd like to say I got some judgment from John once. I sent a credit app in on a modified 2014 Turbo S.
Yeah.
And I got a text message in 5 minutes saying, really? That felt a little judgy, John.
Well, okay, so we have two highly modified Turbo S.
It was the lesser of the two.
Okay.
I know.
It's not judgment. It's
an observation.
disappointment.
It's an observation.
Yeah, it's important to me that whatever my clients buy is right for them, and I'm not the one that's making that judgment. I don't care. When my dad bought his car, I've told the story before. That's not what I thought he'd buy, and that didn't mean it was wrong. It meant I was wrong. I didn't have the right thing, and that's okay. I just, when I know you. And I know that car, and like what? It would just be hard for me to see it sit in a garage for a year. That's a lot of money to be tied up in a project. If you want a project,
like his other project car,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want a project, I got a sweet Volvo. I'll sell you.
Oh, there you go.
I've seen it.
That is a sweet
it's
Volvo.
phenomenal.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, but it's not going to cost you $110,000. So I don't know.
You mean Brandon was going to buy that and you said no?
No. He came down here to buy it and drive it, and we blew up the intercooler pipe.
I drove it, and the car said no.
Oh, okay.
And it hasn't been back to normal yet. Once it's back to normal, I'll sell it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to get back to your point, when I walked in here, I just said I want a 911. Having no clue that in each line of the 911s, there's like 5 or 6 different cars. And then the turbos, there's 5 or 6 different cars. And then it's GT3 RSs above that, 3 or 4 cars. I mean, whatever the number is.
Yep.
So, I walk in saying, I'd like to get a 911. And John's like, okay.
Well, that's where.
Could you be more
Like,
specific? Like,
yeah.
well, I don't know. And so that's how you helped me, was that I couldn't be more specific. I want something that looks like a 911. Okay, well, we got this one, we got that one. This one's a little sportier. This one's got a bigger engine, bigger brake caliper, bigger brake everything because of the bigger engine. Twin turbos. This one's naturally aspirated, no turbos. So we kind of walk through all those different options, and that's kind of how, thankfully, how we eventually dialed in on, this feels like the right car for me. I mean, I don't need 580 horsepower. I don't go anywhere that I need to get there that fast. I mean, every now and then I want to go fast. That's cool. And I can now. But yeah, it was kind of in that whole process of test driving these cars, seeing what they sounded like, what they felt like, how they drove. Sort of like, okay, I think I can kind of dial this in a little tighter, so I do appreciate that. Yeah,
I think it's fun.
Super fun.
Those are great days. My hard day at the office is driving up to Pikes Peak 3 times.
I know, bummer. But somebody's got to do it.
Yep.
Well,
I will keep trying.
So God bless you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
You're hard on yourself by how you started that out. With I'm here to look at 911s. Well, you didn't realize that you're actually starting out perfectly because you really let, especially John, shine in doing what he does best, and that is in abundance, like explaining the differences of cars and giving you the option, right? Or at least asking, hey, can we explore these together? And we can talk about all the differences to help find exactly what John says. We're not thinking about this. We are thinking about this car deal. We're thinking about the next 4 or 5 car deals for you as well, right? During that process. Yeah. And the only way that we get you to come back for those next 4 or 5 car deals in the future, to make sure you get started out in the right car in the beginning, and that it's a good, fun experience. And it just makes it so much easier when you keep coming back, because the next one you might say, you know what, that Turbo S was just a totally bitchin' car.
Oh, super.
I think I might want to swing something like that. Maybe I know what my current car is all about. Let me just try the next one, because I know that there's going to be one after that. Yeah. And so it's hey, let's try them out. Let's make sure that we've got the right fit.
Yeah, that Turbo S. Again, John sent me the spec sheet on it. I was just like, it just went on. It just went on forever. I'm like, oh, and I didn't realize what that meant when I first looked at it until I got the spec sheet for my own car, which is like half a page, but it's fine because it's the car I wanted. I'm not really evaluating the car by how many lines of code are on my page. But when I think about that Turbo S, I had the Bordeaux interior, which is really cool looking. Looks way different in person than it does in a picture. Beautiful. And then all the different things that were spec'd out on that Turbo S. I mean, that supercar.
It's true. That one's already broken in. So if you want to trade this one,
so that was,
you can skip your first 1,000 miles.
That was something I was going to ask you. Is what's the trade in on my new one if I decided to go Turbo S?
It's about 60% less than you paid.
Brendan, do you want to buy a white one?
Good.
Yeah, I'm teasing.
It should be good. Yep.
No, I really, I'm in love with that car. I mean, that car is everything I wanted. The fact that I'm getting a Carrera with the turbo line wheels on it, I think it makes the exterior of that car just absolutely
that's a pretty one.
Gorgeous. And then the brown leather and the truffle brown interior with the chalk top stitching.
Yeah.
There's just, everywhere you look on that car, it's just gorgeous. So I'm like, you're not getting that one back for a while. Maybe I may be the last owner.
It's class. That color combo and the wheel, it's class.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And that's what 911s are, right? I mean, they can be radical, but it's a classy car. It's a very classy car.
So just a funny thing about me, and I'll make this short. When I get a car like that, and even my 320i, I'll just turn on the lights in the garage and go out and stare at it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
There you go.
yeah, I mean, if you get a car and you don't like it that much, like you probably should not have gotten that car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and then of course the problem is, don't fall in love with cars because sooner or later they'll break your heart. It's like, okay, I can wait for that. But yeah, I'm enjoying every moment with this car. It's fabulous. I mean, sooner or later cars just get old.
Yeah, no,
Like
I'm just
people.
trying to think if I've ever loved a car.
But cars in general, yes, they get old. However, right, there's always an exception.
That's the exception.
Yeah,
As far as I'm
right,
concerned.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Because right outside, I'm not going to throw 356s out there because that's different. It's the same DNA, but it's a different line.
Fair enough.
But 911s, right? We've got a couple 74 911s out there.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Those cars aren't.
They're beautiful.
Remember the 68?
They've aged.
Yeah.
but they're not old, right? I mean, those.
Well,
are,
they're no less gorgeous.
yeah, exactly. Right. They're classy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. No, you drive that thing forever. Be very happy.
Yeah, it's.
But we want you to buy many more.
Well, I know you do. I know the first night I had it, I thought about sleeping in it, but I thought, well, with the radio on, I'm probably going to drain the battery, so that's probably not
You'd be
wise.
surprised. It turns off.
Yeah. it actually has sensors inside that know when you fall asleep.
And keep you in your lane. That's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
It would make a really great story. Someone who worked and saved to make it to retirement and sleep in his car.
Yeah, exactly. Sold the house, bought a car, and now I sleep in it.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I know that sounds a little weird, but I thought I just want that new car smell is so good, and it's especially good in a brand new 911.
Yep.
It's especially good. Yeah. So yeah, I only waited 40 years for that, and I feel like it was worth the wait.
Hey. So you know what? There is hope for you, John.
So basically, what you just told
give
me is
yourself a-
I'm not
Yes,
gonna.
I'm on the board.
yeah, I'm not gonna be happy with my car for the next 40 years. That's what I just learned.
You do have the best license plate I think I've ever seen.
That's good. Yeah.
I have a good one. I have a client that just bought a aventurine green Cayman GTS 4-liter manual with the espresso and cognac leather interior. So
Oh, wow.
it's a two-tone brown. Stunning car. And he was sending me kind of some license plate ideas. And I came up with the best license plate for a Porsche Cayman.
Okay.
What is a Cayman?
It's an alligator.
It's a small croc. SML CROC. It would get misread so much.
Oh yeah.
And I just can't get over it. So yeah.
Yeah, that might get misread.
Yeah, it's my small croc.
Yeah. So my family members have named my white Carrera White Lightning.
Yeah.
So I thought that'd be
going for sushi
WHT. Let's see, LTNG.
I think you just need a license plate that says golf.
Golf?
That's a car that says I play golf.
That's good.
Yeah. How to work man of leisure into a license plate? I don't know.
I have some suggestions there.
Brendan's fantastic. Every one of your cars has a personal plate, right?
The garbage plate is
The garbage is
garbage is my best work.
That is fantastic.
that is your finest work,
Yeah.
Brendan. I gotta say.
That's
need
the
to-
R8. That's the R8
Yeah.
plate, right?
Yeah, but if you ever need to say value it for trade purposes, it's not a piece of garbage. It's
No.
It's a
quality
great
vehicle.
Yeah, it's just the
great.
plate.
It's great.
It's just the plate.
Yep.
Great age. That's what it would be, right?
Great. I have an R8 in the garage.
That's what I read it as. Yeah.
It's a brag plate.
It's a brag plate.
Yeah, because you couldn't see the R8 that I'm driving. Technically, that should go on one of your other cars.
I know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. My other car is an R8.
Yeah.
I put it on the Kia.
Right. Yeah.
You need to know about my other car.
My other car is a Viper.
Not right now.
The banana snake is dead.
It's got a material gas leak.
Oh.
I started it to take to work in the middle of March, and it probably dropped like 2 gallons in 5 minutes. So
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
That's pretty good.
I'm impressed.
So
That sounds like engine fire. waiting to happen.
my 2000 Volvo Cross Country went from getting like 22 miles a gallon to 16. And I was like, that doesn't seem right.
So you're giving some of the gas back to the earth.
Yeah. So I looked under it when it was running, and one of the fuel lines was going drip, 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 drip. And so what I did was I got under there, and I worked at a beverage company at this point, and we did like big beer systems. So we had a lot of stuff to splice rubber hoses together.
Yeah.
So I got under there with a couple hose clamps
Yep.
and a ratcheting hose cutter, and I cut the hose, and I used a stainless steel beverage splice and
boy.
a couple Oetiker clamps.
Whoa.
And clamped it together, and
Wow.
It won't corrode that way.
I don't think it has burned down.
Yeah.
Allegedly,
Allegedly.
I did this. It wasn't a Volvo. It was a Mercedes.
We're gonna go check all the arsony reports.
Yeah, but the mileage improved after that. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's
Holy
a good.
cow.
That's a good indicator.
Don't worry, people. John does not work on any of our cars that
I
come
have
through.
fixed. What did I fix? I fixed,
You fixed
the
a
throttle.
Panamera.
I fixed the throttle on a 356.
Well, yeah, and
That with these,
yeah, right.
with my own hands.
Yeah,
With your
And
Wow.
then,
And a
I
Panamera.
diagnosed an electrical gremlin on a Panamera. Jokingly, so anytime something's wrong with any of my cars, my dad says, "Well, did you check the grounds?" Like, Dad, it's a flat tire. Well, did you check the grounds?
the ground may have had a nail in it.
Yeah, it's good one, Dad. You got it. And so, jokingly, we had this Panamera that had a no start issue, and
Intermittent.
no start issue. And when we went back in the service history, there was a long line of it, and the technician was pulling his hair out. He's like, I just can't figure it out. I was like, well, did you check the grounds? and he looked at me and he's just like. And the next day he came in and he goes, John, you know what the problem with that Panamera was?
Yeah.
Was it the
I was
ground?
like, it was the ground.
It was the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the
So
ground.
like there was
Ground.
a ground wire in the trunk that grounded out like the ignition control circuit or something like that. And when it was installed, the screw didn't go through the eyelet. So if it shifted a little bit, it just didn't quite have enough grounding to kick off. And
Yeah, it's like it's like 3 eyelets.
Yeah.
And the middle one was out.
Yeah.
So Anyway, John fixed it.
Ding ding.
That's one for your dad.
Yeah, it's
Right,
true.
yeah,
here's
right,
one for
right.
Todd.
Yeah, 2 for your
There's one
dad.
All right, there you go. I don't know. I could stay here and talk for hours, but it's already after hours. So should we call this a night and let these guys get out of here?
Yeah, for sure.
That's good. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see them back next week.
Oh, I have to shout out my family real quick. I got a text for her on. I've got a living room full of my mother-in-law and father-in-law and my aunt and uncle and my wife all watching the show.
Watching us?
Awesome. Yeah, fantastic.
Oh, that's cool.
They next time, guys, you each need your own device.
Everybody needs to log in.
Yeah,
from their
because
phone.
like
using the TV. That's
yeah,
no good.
that doesn't technically count.
gotta
You
get
get
these
credit
numbers
for
up.
one. You get credit for one
We
there.
need to get the readership up to like more than 5.
I guess I could thank my real dad
Yes.
too. So thanks for coming out.
Yeah, that's true too. All right. Oh man, I'm going to play the song I actually meant to play then instead.
Is it your stereo test song?
No.
Oh,
We can try that one.
So
later.
after the show, we're going to trade in Brendan's R8
Yes.
towards what?
New license plates.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't think we're breaking news yet.
No. Or we're not supposed to.
I don't think so.
Are we not breaking news yet?
Do you want to? Whatever you say on the show is a legal commitment to
It's
buy.
a legal commitment to buy.
Yes.
Just,
In fact, and there's a 20% surcharge for anything sold on this show. It's like a buyer's premium.
Oh, fantastic! So I can pay more.
MJLPO.
That's right.
Perfect.
Have you seen the Porsche Colorado Springs, the new glassware? And then we have the decanter.
Anytime you tell somebody about it, you have to give it to them when they're a guest, though.
That's cool.
That's up to Ricky, and he doesn't give away anything.
So if I purchase this car we're not talking about, does it come with a Porsche Colorado Springs glass decanter?
It does.
With a half a bottle of Jim Beam Black.
hey, what about me?
You already
You
bought
already
your
bought the
car.
car.
What?
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
pre
this is-
first.
That was them.
This,
You're
this
trying
is
to
our
negotiate
these are
before.
the May specials.
Oh my God.
This is the
I was
act now
just,
while
I was
supplies
just
last.
like 1 week short.
I know.
could have had a decanter.
Yeah,
Damn.
it's true.
Wait. I have to ask one more question.
Okay.
Did you do the cloth pulling ceremony?
Oh, 3 times they did the cloth pulling ceremony.
It's a lot of time.
It is a lot of times, but well,
Don't you usually just aim for one?
But I was the first
we
time.
would,
I
we
was the
would
first
just do
time
one,
guy.
but Pete had to see the car for the first time. I can't just let him walk in and see it. So it had to be clean, and then so we revealed it. But the car wasn't ready to go. We had to get clear mask and tint installed.
Okay.
Then your sister showed up, and well, you can't just have it sitting there. So we did another unveiling.
And then he
and
did a
then-
third one when I came to pick it up.
Yes, and then we did the real one.
So
and I did say that next when it's in for service, if you would like us to wash it and do another unveiling, we would be happy to do that.
I'm
There you go.
good.
So,
I'm good.
Yeah,
This
Yeah,
is
that's
why you
pretty
don't
fun.
get a decanter. You got 3 unveilings.
Yes.
that's fair.
Okay, that's fine.
That's
that
fair.
seems like a fair trade.
Porsche will allow, I guess it's deal. I don't know if it's anybody or just dealers. They will allow us to pre-order a unveiling machine.
Wow.
Yeah,
Those are cool.
it's $3,000
worth it.
right? Or for little to no money,
For like
I can hire you
For $20, John will do it for, you know.
to stand behind the car
This is
and
a-
hold it off.
$3,000 machine that pulls a cloth.
Yeah, it's
off
a
of something.
tumbler.
It
It's
doesn't. It's pretty awesome.
Or is it
They used
Porsche
them for Taycan training.
Oh, does it say Porsche design on the side?
Well,
That's why it's $3,000.
Basically, the car has a cover on it.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't.
Big,
Yeah.
It's just poof.
No, it's not fast.
The ones I saw were
The
fast.
one they're getting rid of. No,
right.
it just rolls it up for you.
Okay.
But
Who's
what's-
getting rid of it?
What?
You said they're getting rid of it.
Getting rid of what?
The machine we're talking about.
No. You can pre-order them.
You can pre-order
for
Oh.
$3,000. You can pre-order.
But what's fabulous about
machine.
having
How do you know it's not fast then?
I like how
Because
seamlessly
I
this
watched the
transitioned to
video.
after hours.
Yeah, I watched the video.
So what's fabulous about having John do it is that you got your camera on the car. He says, "You ready?" Yeah, we're ready. And he uncloaks the device. He
Device.
he uncloaks the car.
That's what my wife said.
But what's really cool about it is, so John is behind the car and he's wrapping up this thing. And then there's this big flare where it goes up over his shoulder, and then he leaves the field of regard. It's really cool.
Field of regard.
This is the first time anyone has noticed that I practice.
No, it's
practiced.
totally cool. He did it every time.
awesome.
Wow.
There's this big flare as it goes over his shoulder, and
Wow.
then he leaves the camera thing. It's like, oh,
Jeez.
that was cool.
Anybody that gets their car delivered after this, if I don't do that, I'm sorry.
That's just the waft of his hair.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might have not had the moose in that day.
All right.
I don't know.
Well, we gotta shut this shit down. All right. Well, thank you guys again for
thank
the
you.
After Hours First Dibs podcast.
sure.
That's Brendan. That's Pete. I'm John.
I'm Justin.
Thank you all, and I'm gonna try to play some songs.
All right.
Is it that button? That's a good one.
Yep.
All right. Here we go.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, all.
Well, people try to put us talking about my generation just because we get around. Talking about my generation. Let me take you a couple. Talking about my generation. I hope I die before I get old. Talking about my generation. My generation.